Well, what's new? What's new in the aviation news? Lots of good news. No, you never hear about the good news, but sometimes bad news can actually look pretty good sometimes. Well, welcome to the Super Pilot ish channel. My name is Graham Wilson, and today in my basement, I'll be talking about a little incident. Well, I guess technically it's an accident that happened a few days ago up in Montreal, but everyone walked away. And there we go. So that's good news, right? And then later on after that, I'll be kind of talking about a little bit of pilot decision making. Why would you want to go to a different airport than the one that you were planning? A diversion, as they call it. So, all right, so let's get to the news. And I didn't print up any little paper here today. I'll kind of read off of my screen here that you can't see. And yeah, so there was this airline called Nolanor. They do a lot of flying up in northern Canada mostly, and they charter their planes. They have a lot of different planes in their fleet. The accident in question here was with the 737. So I'll just read here. I'm blatantly stealing this from skiesmag.com, and I'll put a link to this in the description below after I'm done the show. So, investigators are probing the cause of an apparent landing gear malfunction involving a Nolanor Boeing 737-400 at Montreal Mirabel International Airport. The Transportation Safety Board of Canada said it deployed a team of investigators to the incident site after the aircraft landed with one of its main landing gear up November 27th. So that was a few days ago. And here's a quote. At this time, the precise cause has not been established, and any information circulating at present is purely speculative, Nolanor said in a statement early this morning. Yes, purely speculative. So, yeah, I'm speculating. Well, anyways, we are happy to announce our normal operations will resume later today. So good for Nolanor. And all 87 passengers and crew members are safe, the airline added. So there you go. It's like they say, any landing you can walk away from is a good one. Any landing you can walk away from and still use the airplane, that's a great one. So, good landing. Okay, the incident involved a charter flight from Quebec City's Jean Lesage Airport en route to Wabush Airport in Labrador, with a planned stop at Saguenay-Bagotville Airport, according to the Montreal Gazette. The flight diverted to Mirabel, and I'll be talking about this later on the show, and landed after pilots apparently found a fault in the landing gear while approaching Bagotville, the Gazette reported, citing data from the Flight Aware flight tracking website. Passengers were able to reach their destination on another flight, departing from Montreal Trudeau International Airport later in the evening of November 27th, Nolanor said. The TSB, Transportation Safety Board, authorized movement of the aircraft as well as removal of debris caused by the incident, and the aircraft was moved overnight. Here's another quote. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to our crews for their excellent work, as well as to the members of our team involved in managing this event. Nolanor said their professionalism and dedication are invaluable. We also thank our passengers for their patience and understanding, as well as the emergency services for their efficient response. We appreciate the ongoing support from our passengers, partners, and the community. And there we go. So that was off of skiesmag.com, Skies Magazine. Okay. So there we go. Oh, and while I was reading that, Daniel and Wrench popped into the chat. Hi guys. Yeah, so I was thinking, okay, I've never been to either one of those airports in Quebec. I know a guy that was stationed at the Bagotville Airport. It's a combination military civilian use airport, and there's a F-18 fighter squadron that's based in Bagotville, and that's where my buddy was before. And yeah, and then the other one was Mirabel Airport in Montreal, which was built way back when to replace the Pierre Trudeau Airport, as it's called now, and so it's like way on the outskirts of the city, and it's used predominantly for cargo these days. So, yeah, so there we go. That's where they went. And yeah, so I was thinking, like when I was reading that article before, that they said that they diverted to another airport. So, like, why wouldn't you land at the airport you were scheduled to go to, Bagotville, and then you fly away over to Mirabel to land? Why would you do that? Because and I never really thought about it too much before because I've never really declared an emergency. I've been pretty lucky, knock on wood, in my flying career, of my little airplane flying career, that haven't had to declare one. But yeah, so they had a problem with their landing gear, and they said, let's go over to this other airport. So I was reading in another article, and I was also thinking about the airport that they went to had a longer runway by about 2,000 feet. Now it's weird. I read another article that said that the airport was 3,000 feet longer. So depending on how you want to measure your runway length, it could be usable for takeoff distance. Landing, the takeoff distance sometimes is a lot more than what the landing distance is for it, for different reasons. But anyways, I'm gonna look and see, and I'm checking out my Canada Flight Supplement, which is really outdated. But usually airports don't change too much unless you're flying around with an outdated one, and then your airport might be closed. So if you're actually going somewhere, make sure you got an up-to-date publications for your airport information. Okay, so let's take a look at Bagotville. Bagotville. BAG. And this, whenever you're looking up in this thing, you go by the city that you're looking for. So let's look at the runway here, just for fun. Bagotville, here we go. So according to this, it's 10,000 foot runway. I'm curious to see how wide it is. So this is what the Bagotville runway looks like here. That's that big long one going left to right. And yeah, so that's what the airport looks like. It has a cross runway of 6,000 feet. So that's a good sized runway. Let's look for services, runway data. Here we go. And runway 29 or runway 11. Okay, so that's the largest runway there is 10,000 feet by 150 feet wide. So that's a really good sized runway. So let's look in Montreal now. And I'm wondering if when these guys in their 737 with their landing gear problem, I wonder if they considered the runway sizes here. So let's go to Montreal. But we also don't know, anytime there's some kind of incident or something's going wrong in the cockpit, you really don't know. You can't just kind of speculate what's going on. So my official superpilotish statement on this is, I don't know. There you go. Okay, what do we got here? Let's check for, I got my Mirabel International Airport runway data. Oh, here we go. Check this out. So they have two runways. Oh, is one of those a military runway? No, that's got lighting. Okay. Yeah. So those are big runways. Okay. So at Mirabel, there's I'll show you this one here. Those kind of two V-shaped kind of runways. You can see that there. Okay. And yeah, so those are, according to the book, they're 12,000 feet long. So you got another 2,000 feet in length, and it's 200 feet wide. So you got another 50 feet worth of width. Now, if you are going to be landing with one of your main landing gears still stuck up, it's going to want to pull you to one side, right? So the extra width, that could keep you out of the grass. So that's something to consider. Bigger runways. Yep. And then, so I would say, good call on the bigger runway thing. And if you're flying from, apparently they went into land at Bagotville, they kind of did a missed approach, and then they diverted off to Mirabel. So the time along the way that they have, yeah, it gives you more time to figure out what you want to do, your little plan of landing and stuff like that. So, yeah, so that's pretty cool. And I was wondering too, what kind of air rescue and firefighting do they have? The ARFF. And I was thinking about the ARFF, and that's something to actually consider if you're ever going to be doing a diverting to another airport, if you're having a malfunction with your airplane or something like that. And so that is kind of a cool thing. Now, maybe, and then, I looked up in the book here, and usually there's like a ARFF category that it has. So in Bagotville, it's category 5 ARFF. And then if you want, so that's under the services here. This is something that you might want to check out if you're doing a flight test or something like that. If you got an examiner that really, I don't know, a very thorough examiner. Like when I was testing people for flight tests, I would never get into air rescue and firefighting, but you still should be able to look that up technically. So anything that's under services in here, you go to the front and you look up services under the general section here. Where's our ARFF? We're looking for services. We're looking for ARFF. Okay, this is fun. Okay, services. Okay, now this should be a chart here for the ARFF. The ARFF chart is what I'm looking for, so I can show it to you. Okay, flight planning. No, okay, flight planning comes before services. And then if you ever are looking in the CFS, as they call it, Canada Flight Supplement in Canada, for you students out there, if you're looking at it, okay, I'll just close up Mirabel. Like all this stuff that is here listed, like the type of fuel that they have at the airport and stuff. So they got all these little funny little codes and things here, there, and down here. So that the definition of all that stuff and explanations of them are in the very beginning of the book, and it goes in the exact same order as you would see it on the page of your airport information. So we have that. So we should have the ARFF here. Okay. So now we found out that Bagotville had ARFF Category 5, which means the maximum fuselage. The following table identifies the critical category for aircraft rescue and firefighting as it relates to the aircraft size, the quantities of water and complementary extinguishing agents, the minimum number of aircraft rescue and firefighting vehicles, and the total discharge capacity. For ease of interpretation, the table is a combination of the two tables found in CAR 303. Okay, so according to this, the aircraft fire and rescue and firefighting, it says that the aircraft overall length couldn't be more than 28 meters, which is, what's that, about 75, 80 feet? So I don't know if a 737, if it's that long. Might be longer. Probably not. Usually these airlines, if they're going to be flying into somewhere, they'll require to have the proper ARFF. We had a bigger airplane come into Windsor here. It required an ARFF Category 6, which means it's a bigger plane. It was for 757, I believe. And so you need 2 vehicles for that, and maximum 39 meters. Okay. So 120 feet. Okay. Anyways, and then there's a quantity of water and all this other stuff. Discharge capacity in liters per minute. So the bigger the airplane, the higher category of ARFF you need. So, anyways, yep, there we go. So maybe they were considering the ARFF at the bigger airport. So, you can be a little bit safer about if anything catches on fire. And so maybe that was it. Better aircraft rescue and firefighting at the bigger airport. So that's something to consider if you're going to be doing a diversion on your. I never really considered that. I always thought when I was ever teaching someone to divert to an alternate airport, you might run through with the student that, okay, why would you want to go to another airport? Maybe you're getting low on fuel. Maybe you have a sick passenger. You want to get them to an airport, and then your consideration of that too might be. And I would always ask this as an examiner on the ground. It'd be like, which airport would you divert to if we had a problem here with a sick passenger? And they'd say, oh, this airport over here. And 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 then I would say, oh, do they have a hospital in that little town? And they go, I don't know. Wait, no, I divert I divert to this bigger city. Yes, because they probably have a hospital. So there you go. You can kind of be a nice examiner that way. But you get people thinking about in real time scenarios, like what would you do? So one of the things would be, okay, if you have a jet with 87 people on board, maybe you divert to somewhere with better ARFF facilities, aircraft rescue and firefighting, and a longer runway and a wider runway. So, that's pretty good consideration, I would say. And most importantly, they landed, they skidded to a stop. Everyone got off the plane. Everyone got on another plane from a bigger airport. That was another thing, too. I was thinking about just the airmanship of it, where if you went to this little airport in Bagotville, well, it's not that small, but if you landed on the 10,000-foot runway, now the runway's closed until you can move the aircraft, but you can't move the aircraft until the Transportation Safety Board guys show up, and they're based in Montreal. So if you land in Montreal, you're going to be able to move the plane a little bit faster. So everything kind of works out for an emergency situation with a big jet. Go to a bigger airport if you can, and everything goes a lot smoother, as the people at Nolan figured out. So I don't know if that was some procedure that might have been, they might have just had that written into their standard operating procedures. If there's a problem here, we go here, and that's our alternate airport. And for those reasons, and it was researched beforehand, so it takes that decision out of the pilot's hands. It's like, nope, these are the procedures. That's what we do. So that's why, like, standard operating procedures can be quite good for pilot decision making, because it's like, okay, we spent hours and hours and hours safely on the ground figuring this out. So that's why it's a procedure. And then if you're up in the air thinking, I got a problem with my airplane, you don't have meetings with donuts and calling up operators of airports saying, hey, can you accommodate this? You're like, I got to get on the ground here. I got an hour and a half worth of fuel. Better do something, rather than taking a day to really plan it out. So, sometimes the standard operating procedures can be good. That might have been there. I don't know. I'm speculating. So there we go. And so like, I don't really particularly like to talk about crashes and stuff, but I don't know. To me, it's just some accident. The landing gear didn't go down, and it's kind of weird when you're a pilot and if you've been doing it for a while, that you just run into people all the time that have landed with no wheels. It's like, oops. Some people forget to put them down. Sometimes it's a mechanical malfunction. Sometimes somebody lands and they're taxiing, and all of a sudden there's all the pressure in the front shock absorber goes out, or there's a little leak in there, and boom, it collapses and your propeller hits the ground as you're taxiing. There's all these little, just these funny little you kind of stub your toe. So landing with your gear down, it's kind of like stubbing your toe, really. It's like not the biggest thing. You're not breaking a leg. Or even landing with no landing gear. These planes, they land generally pretty softly, and they just kind of skid to a stop, and you still have some rudder authority to steer with. Generally, it turns out okay. So there we go. That's a pilot telling himself, like, oh, it's totally safe. Well, I mean, can be, depending on statistically it's safe. So, and it's fun to do, so I keep doing it. Okay. So that's about it for that. I'll just take a look at some of Daniel and Wrench's comments here. Okay, and what do we got here? Okay, Wrench is he's one of these guys, but that's okay. We accept everyone here at Superpilotish channel. All the time I hear any landing you can walk away from is a good landing, and I think it's totally wrong. A broken airplane is sad. Yes. And then yes, I did say that 10 seconds after he wrote it. Yeah. So yeah, it's like I don't know. I think it's more like the more that you get into flying as a job, I think you kind of you're desensitized from a few things. Just like if you ever talk to if you've ever talked to an ambulance attendant, like a EMS guy or something, they go to like I don't know, like horrible car crashes and stuff with compound fractured legs and bones sticking out, and blood shooting out of your throat and stuff. Like those guys do it for a job, and they just like those guys get a little twisted, man. I knew one guy. He's like, oh yeah, well he was pretty new to the job, and he was like, oh wow, had a car crash the other day, compound fracture. I'm like, okay, dude. He used to work at his mom's corner store part-time too. That's how I knew him. But yeah, he really liked the gore. I don't know. Well, it's a good job for him if that's what you like, but no thanks. But yeah, so he got desensitized to it, and then like doctors and nurses and stuff, like, oh well. There's vomit all over the place. Who cares? You get desensitized. Okay, what else we got here? Hey, Vanessa Kitty just popped in. Hi, Vanessa. Okay, I thought I saw here Wrench was talking about. Oh, here we go. Wrench watched the onboard cell camera from Mirabel. Got to deploy the slippery slide. I think the plane will be repairable. Hopefully. And then ATC thought it was a flaps issue. Surprised when gear failed. No brace called out. According to Av Herald. Yeah, that's you read all this different stuff on online, but like I was kind of saying before, for the standard operating procedures that were developed for the airline, like, and I'm sure they have them there. Every airline has their standard operating procedures. So depending on the fault or depending on the severity of the system that could be faulty, some of that stuff might not be necessary. So, okay. Hey, Vanessa Kitty. And then, all right, what do we got here? My wife's an RN. I hear medical stories too. Yeah, see, she's probably desensitized to that. All right, Vanessa Kitty. She's always got good Air Force stories here for us. One flight in Alaska, the plane rolled around on our approach to Seek, Alaska. The pilot and I were suddenly laughing hysterically at the landing. Okay. Then I was stuck at Seek for a week until another plane got in. Oh, there you go. Good landing. Anyone you can walk away from. And yeah, it's just kind of it's kind of one of those things you get desensitized to. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't take things seriously. So, and that's why, like, when I was looking around, that's why I really don't like talking about accidents too much here. Oh, sorry. We got a clarification here. It's Eek, Alaska. Where is... I got to look up Eek, Alaska. Where is that? That's weird. I know Vanessa was telling us before how she was up there before. Eek, Alaska. Map. There we go. Eek, Alaska. What does Wikipedia tell me? Oh, as of the 2020 census, there were 404 residents. Oh, that's a little. Eek is derived from a Yupik word meaning two eyes. All right. Eek, Alaska. Oh, yeah, that's looking at the map there. That's where would that be? Southwest of Alaska, southwest, not quite going out to the that one of the Aleutian Islands there. Okay, cool. All right. Oh yeah, there we go. Native fishing village. Okay. Yeah, where are we here? Wrench is talking here. Yeah, the accident YouTubers really get the views. Oh, they do. It's like, it's tempting. I kind of think that like the ultimate pilot YouTuber ratings would be okay. It'd be like some hot chick wearing a tank top, talking about airplane crashes and I don't know, driving around in a fast car or something like that. Like it would be just like the ultimate trifecta of like just clickbait, clickbait, clickbait. But oh well. I'm not wearing a tank top and I can't afford a fast car and I don't know. I just people like to get scared, I guess. I think people like the crash YouTubers. It's kind of like why people like horror films. Like I don't like horror films, but some people love to get scared watching the goriest horror films. I think there's like a certain part of the psychology that some people like that kind of stuff, but not me. Okay, all right. What else we got here? She's a he. Uh-uh. we don't talk about that too much at the superpilotish channel. Anyways, yeah, so that's about it for today. Yeah, what do we got here? So anyways, congratulations to Lenore people. You got everyone out safely on other flights and stuff, so that's great. And think about your ARFF. And the ARFF can be found in the Canada Flight Supplement here, or I'm sure there's some kind of American equivalent if you're in the States. But that's something to consider for your, maybe even figure that out before you even take your trip. Like, what happens if something happens here? There you go. Okay. And just before this, we got some more good news because I like having good news here. It was that Vanessa had the largest halibut she caught from Seward, Alaska was 248 pounds. Wow. And the crew helped haul it in. Hey, what a great way to finish up the show with a good happy fish story. Okay, and thanks for that, Vanessa. Yeah, so we're going to be shutting her down here. See you tomorrow. What do we got here? Today's Monday. I always got to think what day it is. If I'm in my basement doing this, I know it's either Monday, Wednesday, or Friday because I do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Eastern. And yeah, we'll just kind of shut her down. So check you out on Wednesday, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye.